Alright, Chapter 12, Section 5, Flame Treating Metal, Flame Hardening. Oxyacetylene flames can be used with the hardening surface with a hardenable steel with the introduced, including stainless steel to provide the better wear and quality for the carbon content of the steel. It should be 0.3500 for the percent of the higher of the appreciable hardening. The best range for the hardening process for the 4000 to 1500%. This process of the steel with the heat of the critical temperature of the quench, usually with water. The steel contains 1700% carbon with the higher with the created treated with the, in the same manner except with the compressed air with the water with the spray with the compressed air is used with the quenches parts of the less rapidly with the prevent surface checking the oils used with the quenching some of the steel's composition. Oxyacetylene frame is merely the heat source involved with the no exchange of the composition steel in the case of the hardening with the carbon and nitrogen introducing in the surface in the case of hardening the thicker with the hardness area the ranges from 0 to 2 20 thousandths of an inch. Ordinary welding touches are used for the small work of the most flame with the hardening of the work of the water-cooled torches are necessary. The tip of the burns are of the multiple flame type of the air or water-cooled, since they must be operated with extended the periods without backfiring with the where limited areas are to be hardened. The torches move the back and forth over the part of the area with the heat above the critical temperature. Then harden. Then the area of the quenching and hardening area with extending of the areas are accomplished by a steel hardening device that consists of the row of flames followed by the row of the quenching jet between the moving these elements over the surface of the work or moving the work at the required speed under the flames in jets is required. 1221 flame stop. The certain steel called 6 hardening steel will become hard and brittle will cold rapidly with the air with a red hot condition. The hardening action frequently occurs with the steel and the flame cut arc weld. The subsequent machine required with the hardness to be decreased to permit easy removal of the metal. Oxyacetylene flames are adjusted with neutral with either preventing hardening or softening already hardened surface. The action of the flame is often rapidly heated with the metal with a critical temperature. However, the flare softening and the quenching is emitted with the part of the cooled slowly as either by steel or by shielding the insulation material. Standard type of torch with the tip and heating heads are likely used for welding equipment are not applicable. The equipment of the flame hardening is necessary. Or a plate strand. It's often desired necessary to straight steel that has been expanded and distorted with the original shape with the uneven heating of the special true with the steel with the prevent with expanding with adjacent with the cold metal with the contraction with the cooling the temp with the short with the surface of the dimension with the heat side of the plate with the some of the metal has been upset with the permanently the plate cannot be returned to if the original dimension becomes the dish or otherwise distorted. Localized heat caused with the metal such metal the distortion principle can use with the remedy the warpage buckling and other irregularities in the plates and shaft and structure with the remember the other part with the distort of the area with the heated locally with the quench with the on-cooling of the reason raised section of the metal will be drawn with the repeated with the process with carefully with applying heat with the to the proper area with the surface the irregularity can be remedied. Year 1223, the flame strength will differ with the hardened flame hardening with intent with the locally strength parts which have been withstand with the surface, severe surface condition with the process with the use in particularly with the further parts of the subject frequently varying with the stresses as you the particular with the parts of the subject of the frequently varying stresses that are led to fatigue failure with the section with the strength with the heated with the hardening temperature with the oxyacetylene flame quench either with water, air mixture, or air depending on the composition of the steel being treated. Alright, 1224, flame descaling. Flame descaling, sometimes called flame cleaning, is widely used for the removing and loosening of the rear mill scale and rust. It's used to clean rusted structure prior to painting. These scales are rust, crack, flame flake off because of the rapid expansion under the accelerating torch of the flare also turns to the moisture present with the steam and accelerates the scale and removal at the same time dries. Surface of the loose rust is removed by a wire brush to prepare the surface of the planing of the process. Use the burning off of the old point paint and standing torches equipped with long extension with multiple flame tips, the bearing widths of the shapes and are used. So operation of the time intervals, flaming, descaling prior to the painting, flame, decleaning, dehydrate, flame, wire brush, paint, and spray or brush. 5 to 15 minutes paint, so flowers no more than 2 hours after flame cleaning before condensation and moisture occurs on the surface. Alright, general, the flame machine with the oxygen machine with include these properties with the oxygen acetylene flare with the remove the surface of the metals over the shovel the use of process with the described below scarfing the deseaming process with the removal of the crack scale of the other effects of the surface blooms and billets other unfurnished shapes of the steel mills and the process of the air the surface of the metal with the heat of the ignition tension with the jet and the jet of the oxygen are applied with the preheat with the air with the advance of the surface the cutaway of the scaled surface of the compared to that of the steel cleaned by chipping and gouging the process used with the remove the welds is used in elimination of defect of the cracks and slant illusion porosity with the steel castings, hogging in the flame machine and process used with the removal of excessive metals such as riser sprues or from castings and combinations of scarfing and gouging techniques. Oxygen turning the flame machine is identical to the principle of the mechanical turning with a substantial cutting torch in place with the usual cutting tool. Your surface planing. The surface planing is the type of the flame with the machining similar to the mechanical planing. Metal plate is removed with a flat round surface of the series of the parallel overlapping grooves to the cutting tip of the special cutting orifice. Even in operation, operators control the width and depth of the cut, controlling the oxygen pressure, tip angle with the relation with the metal surface with the speed with which the cutting progresses. 1226, oxy-settling rivet cutting, removal of the countersunk rivet. The countersunk rivet is to be removed. The cutting torch is held to the cutting nozzle perpendicular to the plate surface. Thus, the preheating temperatures are directed at the point slightly below the center of the rivet head. The tips of the inner cones of the flame should be approximately 1/16 away from the rivet head. So, with the removal of the countersunk rivets, you have preheat flames, position of straight cut, and position for preheating. Um, then preheating flames cutting oxygen and slag, and then preheating flames cutting oxygen and slag. When the area of the rivet under the flames becomes bright red, the tip of the torch raised slightly to direct the cutting oxygen stream of the height of the cutting oxygen valve to open the torch shield that is head steadily until the coned head has been burned through with the body shank of the rivet is reached, and the remainder of the head should then be removed in one circular wiping motion. The torch should be held with the cutting oxygen stream pointed at the base of the countersunk, then moved around the circumference after it has been removed from the shank and been driven out. Removal of button head rivets. The button head rivets can be removed by using the type of the side of the we recommend the cutting steel with a 1-inch thick with adjusting oxygen and settling pressure with the accordingly with the tip of the parallel to the plate with the cutting of the slot with the rivet head from the top of the tip of the button to the underside of the head. Similar to the screwdriver, the slot with the round screw. As the cut nears the plate, draw the tip back at least 1.5 inch from the rivet. The swinging the tip in a small arc. The slice is off half of the rivet head. Immediately swing the tip in the opposite direction, cutting off the other half of the rivet. After the head has been removed, the shank can be driven out. So it shows 1212 show the removal of the button head rivet is the rivet, the cutting oxygen tip, tip slag, reheating flames, starting out and then cutting oxygen on the rivet, slag preheats the temperature, and then rivet now cut flush with the surface slag. Alright, by the time the slot is cut, the entire wall head of the preheated with the cutting with the temperature for the bottom of the slot, which is being reefed just before the cutting temperature. Cutting strap with the surface of the plate with the tip must be drawn back with the rivet the distance of 1/2 inch for the permit of the oxygen stream spread out slightly before the strikes of the rivet to prevent the jet of the breaking through the layer of the scale will always prevent present between the rivet head and the plate with the tip of the dot drawn with the force of the oxygen. It may pierce with the film over the scale, damaging the plate surface. Section 6. Cutting hard surface with electric arc.